Perplexing question alert. Would you give up your life for principle? Something I think most of us could consider nowadays is principle all that really important to us, especially in the wake of this new political debate. 2020 president is being elected or re-elected. Uh, Principle seems to be a die-hard norm of a lot of people participating in, well, politics and of course just basic life, right? Um, like I'm thinking more on the lines of, would you essentially uh forego the existence of God, even though would you basically neglect the existence of God purely because he does or he allows bad things to happen on principle and say I'm not following a person who does that? By the way, this is a philosophical argument. This is not my own argument. I'm pretty sure this is somewhere in philosophy, but would you essentially, if there was an existence of God and then you didn't recognize him, would you spend an eternity in hell based on principle? And that kind of is where I'm coming from. But yeah, welcome to week I think it's 13 of the PAF podcast. Wow, we're really striking some real talent here. I think I'm getting more in the groove of these podcasts more and more. I actually like these a lot, and I feel like I could continue them. Sometimes I lack the motivation to produce content, but once I get into it, I probably should be on my way to high roading. And why not jump into it? Some people become addicted to their own sense of morality and become consumed by their ideals because ideals somehow make you a better person, right? Uh, Especially ideas like murder is bad. Yeah, murder is pretty bad, but who are you to say it is? Essentially that, but not to the extent of murder, I should say, but more so, would you pretty much forgo the sake? Would you give up a friend because of their difference in opinion on politics? If they were a diehard Trump fan, would you still stand by them as I am your friend and I respect your opinion, even though you're I'm a hardcore Antifa liberal or something like that? Yeah, I kind of find it hard to think that most people would agree with that sentiment. I feel like not a lot of people nowadays are like, I respect you, and hold out their hand and like, let's shake on it. I respect you as a human because you support that scumbag racist. Uh, but which scumbag racist are we talking about? Of course, right? Uh, some people will probably crucify me for saying that if you're a Californian. By the way, I'm a fellow Californian, and I have to say, I am not in love with Joseph Biden, unfortunately. I'm actually on the nobody train. If I had to make a choice, it'd be Donald Trump. Feel free to debate me if you want, but now is not the time for it, unfortunately. We're working on principle. I have a lot of principles, especially ones in the worldview that I think suits me the best. Since I am I'm not a utilitarian because I don't think that infinite pleasure and neglect of pain is the best for you. Essentially, in case you don't know what utilitarianism is, it's trying to produce a life that gives you the most pleasure with the least amount of pain. And I think pain is essential to our uh, adaptation and evolution as humans. Therefore, I can't really be a utilitarian, but I do agree with it to an extent. And to when I say I agree with it to an extent, I mean that I do agree that we should strive for convenience and pleasure. Like, if you want to pursue a career, you should be able to pursue that career because it gives you pleasure. But I also want someone to struggle to get to that place. They shouldn't be like, oh, um, just because of my degree, I am immediately granted the opportunity to be in that job right away. I feel like there should be some struggle in between. Therefore, they actually learn what hardship is. And if you don't know what hardship is, then how can you understand it? Because experiencing something firsthand is far greater an experience than just being told, I was by a friend that I was poor and I didn't like it. Oh, really? Wow, I didn't really know that you were poor, or I didn't know that being poor was bad. Maybe I should try it sometime. I'm not trying to be like that. I'm not saying that experience dictates your worldview. I'm trying to say that hearing it from a friend or from an internet article is not enough to explain the weight of that issue. Let's go into the argument of God, I should say, because God comes up a lot. I'm not an atheist, I'll tell you that. I am more on the theist side, where I do believe there could be a higher being. There's no proof of it, but I think there could be, since there's no direct explanation. I can't believe in the Big Bang Theory. I can't believe God because there's no proof. And although, if you've watched my past arguments on this, I don't believe in evidence to the extent that it should be held as a solid and concrete foundation forever. I don't believe that. I do believe it can be molded over time, right? And if you have that view in mind, right, I think it's pretty reasonable to say that there could be a God. There could be. And I would probably not give my life up for principle if I was put in that situation. If I was put in a situation where I had to put my faith in a God or go to hell, right? Let's just assume that heaven and hell are real things, right? I just read about this philosophical argument and I think it's pretty interesting. Some people say that I cannot support God under any circumstances because he allowed things like the Holocaust to happen. There's no such thing. If God is infinitely good and he's an omnipotent being that sees all and stuff like that, how can he possibly allow something like that to happen? I cannot support a person like that ever. So there's no way I would ever not forsake him as a deity. Well, would you consider the ramifications of that? Since you forgo the existence of God, then you spend an eternity in hell. And is it really worth spending an eternity in hell on principle? I like that argument because, sure, I'll probably believe in God just so I don't have to go to hell and suffer for eternity. But for the person that does think that, right? Why does your principle matter so much to you that you would spend an eternity in agony when you only spent 100 years on Earth for, for what? You spend 100 an eternity versus 100 years. If you live to 100 years, I think the average age in the United States is like 72 or 68, right? You would spend an eternity in agony rather than give up principle and just believe in something that doesn't exist or believe in something that could exist, right? And I like that argument a lot. I think that principle is a good thing we should value. I think that people with strong principles are usually have the strongest opinions and are stronger in a debate. And I love debating because it kind of shows someone or shows your true colors as a person, right? And I like full honesty in debates. I don't like people holding back on me because they think I'm intellectually inferior, intellectually superior. They're like, "Oh, you wouldn't want to hear my opinion." No, I probably would. That way, I can make a decision on whether I am intellectually superior or intellectually inferior to you in that area, right? Um, and there's a lot of nuance to why I like honesty in debates because it's not something about human nature. It's just something personal. Like, do you trust me with your do you trust me to an extent with your honest opinion on that matter? If you believe in fascism, right? I love the fascism one too. If you believe in fascism and you're honest with me and explain to me why you like fascism, it's not like I'll tell you you're a terrible human being and you should be executed where you stand. If it were me, I would be an understanding person and be like, I probably understand where you're coming from. If you suffered and you feel like fascism is a viable source of government for you, then go do that, right? But I'm not going to support you in that venture, and I probably don't want to be associated with you if you are a fascist. Um, I could be associated with you, like if you were a close friend, and you were like, I'm a fascist. I just went through a lot of thinking, and I really think that fascism speaks to me. Sure, it's not like I'm gonna break our relationship over some political view. Like, if you're a good dude, I'll probably still be friends with you. And most people are like that. one of my closest friends is actually a devout liberal. He argues against it, but we've had him on the podcast a couple times, and it's obvious he's a devout liberal, democratic socialist as he likes to call it, but he's a liberal, and it's not like I'll unfriend him from everything just because he's a liberal, but principle matters. I think, especially for people like that who are it, especially because I'm in California and I'm the minority, right? I'm the minority in California with an opinion so disgraceful to the culture here that most people can't take me seriously when I give an opinion. It's kind of funny to see actually how liberal this state has become, but that's what I get for being unlucky, I guess. I mean, not to say that living in California is unlucky to any extent. It's very satisfying to a person like me, I suppose. But it's kind of hard being in the minority opinion, especially when you're a right wing libertarian. That's right, I'm a right wing libertarian. I'm not at the half mark yet of right wing, but I'm near the half mark, and I'm not even close to, or I'm like a quarter of the way down into libertarian. So that's where I am on the political compass. If you believe on that, if you believe in the political compass at all, I don't think it. I think it's fun to do. I don't think it's all encompassing. I think it's just fun. But I'm kind of moving at a rapid pace, but I'm sure most of this stuff is obvious to you. If we somehow tread the line between principle and idealism, it's kind of weird when you think about it, right? You always love an idealist, right? Who is a free form thinker, and he's always moving on to the next idea constantly because he or she, for that matter. Oh wow, inclusivity. Am I right, Californians? Um, he or she is constantly moving on to the next idea because they value a lot of possibility in the world. They value a lot of factors that could not be seen by someone who's straight, narrow-minded, and lives solely on principle. Now let's switch to that guy, the guy who lives solely on principle and will void nothing, uh, and pretty much never give up his stance because he feels like it's the most iron grip argument he could possibly have. Like, I am anti-abortion because killing babies is bad. Okay, that is a fair argument. I'm not going to lambaste you for it. But if you're a man saying that, I think your opinions is significantly less than a woman's, unfortunately. Uh, I mean, if it's your baby, you probably have more say in that argument, but I wouldn't say you have equal say because, what if you rape that woman, right? That's not really your choice, unfortunately. I don't think, at least, it should be your choice if you did do that to that woman. Am I getting my channel taken down because I said that word? I hope not. But I don't even know YouTube standards these days. Can you say that? I feel like you can. I feel like a lot of edgier YouTubers say that, but obviously they're not. Their videos are not monetized. So, what am I afraid of? Honestly, why should I have to hold back? It's not like I live on a separate plane of existence, and whatever. What am I even talking about? But yeah, if you want to be cool, kid, you become an idealist like me. I mean, I do have principle. I'm kind of in the half mark of that. I do value new ideas constantly because new ideas are very valuable to a thinker like me. Always wants to hear the opposite argument, the strongest argument for both sides. And if there's like five arguments, I want to hear them all. I definitely want to hear every side because no argument is two sided. Like the whole matter of, oh, it's either you're with me or against me argument is, just get out of my face, dude. Like it's just not that simple. Like where our taxes should be going. Like it's just not simple as you want it to be contributed to the economy or you want it to be contributed to humanitarianism. Yeah, it's just not that simple. You can't just base an entire foundation of our society on two principles. You have to think more idealist in that sense because true, humanitarianism is important to our society, right? But I do think in order for society to function, there needs to be um, set pieces in place for that society to function, and that is why I think more of our taxpayers' money should be dedicated to keeping that society intact rather than the people. Although I do value people, I definitely value the society behind the people a lot more because without it, I don't think society could exist. Infrastructure and the way we go about certain uh, things is, especially in our economy, is definitely a lot more important than the people behind that economy, right? I mean, of course, you need people for that economy to function, but I'm not an economist, but I think that to an extent, the market should be regulated, but it should be a lot more lenient in its policy towards certain types of groups. I don't know how that sounds. So does that sound really ignorant or something like that? I mean, tell me if I'm being ignorant here, but um, I value deregulation. I'm not a laissez-faire guy. Don't get me wrong. I cannot stand laissez-faire. I think it's a boohoo. It's over. You're not getting laissez-faire anymore. But you're definitely you definitely need those regulations in place, just not to the extent that a lot of left wingers suggest. Right? Definitely don't agree with a lot of their policy, but it's all up in the air to me. When did this become into a political podcast? This is supposed to be a philosophical argument. Um, where was I? Anyway, I think we just go on the topic of life, how you value life, and in accordance to principle, right? Do you value your life in accordance to principle? Is it that important? Is your life devalued to you compared to principle? Like, is the fact that I will never, ever murder a human, right? More valuable than going to jail for 50 years, right? If you had the chance to get away with murder and you're put in a situation where you could be blamed for the murder and be sent for 50 years, or put the blame on an innocent person and have them go to jail, nobody would know. Literally, no one would know. They would go to jail for 50 years. Would you take that deal? Is your life that valuable to you? Or is it so invaluable that you will sentence yourself to 50 years? Say, I'm guilty. I'm not even pleading not guilty. I'm pleading guilty. I don't know. It's up to you to decide how valuable your life is. But, you know, if I was in that situation, I'm sorry to tell you, but I like living in freedom and not having my rear be punctured by some men or of that sort in the slammer. Unfortunately, not to say that I would murder anyone. I'm saying that um, the decision of, I mean, look, we don't take the trolley problem like that either. It's not like you can be classified as a murderer because you took the trolley problem. Oh, just because I chose the 5 people over my one family member is making me a murderer. No, it's a thought experiment at its best. This is all a thought experiment to you, more so than me. I've already thought about this. I felt like sharing it because I thought it was interesting, but you know, our paths have crossed once again to really show the integrity of human nature and that sort. Oh yes, I love integrity. Let's go over integrity, especially people that value it a lot, because a lot of people value honesty and rather than lying, of course, which I understand. Not to say that honesty is a bad concept or a bad idea to uphold, but I definitely do think to an extent that white lies and lies in general are valuable in nature. You could be someone who's a straight edge and says, "No, I want to live my life completely honest. If I make a mistake, I'm owning up to it 100%. Whether it damns my career or not, I am doing it." Good for you. But most of us would probably rather keep our 100K jobs if we had it, right? It's not like a 100K job is going to slip into our fingers after we get laid off, right? It Depending on whether you're continuing in that industry and stuff like that. And again, it's just a thought experiment. You could be honest or dishonest if you want. I remember there was one problem I looked over where you were at a Christmas party and you knocked over the Christmas tree with a bunch of ornaments that your friend had collected throughout his years and travels throughout the world. They were really like expensive and cool ornaments from around the world, and you knocked a tree over while everyone was in the kitchen and you were sitting at the dining table, right? But the scapegoat is there's a dog there that was acting really ravenous, I should say, and he could have easily been blamed for the tree being knocked over. So, do you take the decision of saying I did it? And let's say this relationship you had with your friend was based on complete and utter honesty. You were dead serious with each other when it came to most things, and there's no shred of lying or dishonesty between you two, right? But this, he spent his entire life collecting these ornaments, right? And your relationship is not as strong as someone's entire life, obviously. He spent his entire life collecting these ornaments, and you value your relationship with this dude. You really do. You say, you know what, this is a valuable relationship to me. So you know what, the dog will take the fall. He's not gonna get. It's not like he's gonna beat him, or the owner's gonna beat him or anything. He's probably just gonna get sprayed with a water bottle and be like, bad dog, bad dog. And compared to that, if you take the fall, you could risk potentially losing your relationship with such a person who's been around the world and can provide you knowledge and sustainability to that integral relationship you have, right? Do you want to risk that? That's kind of up to you. I mean, most of us would maybe own up to our actions there. I think I would probably own up to my action there. It's not like I can replace any of those ornaments because they're from around the world, and they're probably local. They were probably bought locally. But if our relationship is less valuable than those ornaments, which are which are material objects, as valuable as they are to that person, uh, maybe we shouldn't be friends in the first place if he valued vanity, if he held vanity to that extent. Sure, I would. I not to say I wouldn't be mad if I spent my entire life collecting some cool thing like, I don't know, really vintage stamps and someone spilled wine all over it, something like that. I would get heated. I would get super heated and be like, please just leave. Uh, you know, it's hard to say what I would do because I've never had it happen to me where someone's just destroyed something I value infinitely higher than anything else I've ever valued. It's hard to say what I would do. Probably kick him out of my house for a day, and then maybe as a week pass, be like, "Yo, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see until something that earth-shattering happens. But until that day, it's not happening." But man, this has become a really stimulating conversation, I must say. I'm just talking to myself in my room. Wow, you guys get to listen to me ramble on about some concept that I found interesting, and boo hoo, this guy, whatever. He runs a meme page. What a loser. Um, funny, funny. I don't even know where to go with this. I have about 7 more minutes to fill. But where do I go with this? Please tell me. Someone, please tell me. It's not a live chat. But I'd like for someone to tell me where I could possibly go. I guess we can go in the way of pursuit of happiness to that extent. If your principle in life is to pursue a happy ending to that life, not utilitarianism, like seeking as much pleasure as possible in every moment, just reaching a final moment of happiness at the culmination of your life. But you have to sacrifice your principles to get there. That's a really tough one. Not tough for me. I would probably sacrifice my principles to get there, depending on how severe the principle it might be. Again, murder being one of them is probably not in the best case scenario of reaching that happy ending in the first place. It's not like you can leave these situations. I hate thought experiences or thought experiments. I'm sorry. thought experiments that say this is consequence free, because it's definitely not consequence free. To get away with murder is like, sure, if you get away with it for scot free, you're getting away with it scot free in terms of the law, but mentally you're probably scarred for life because you know you were the one who did it. You knew. You have to live with that reality for the rest of your life. So that's just not an option I'm willing to cross, unfortunately. I'm sorry. I may be in the minority here, but I crossed the line at murder. I know that's a really unpopular opinion, but murder is just really murder bad. What else is there? Would I sacrifice my? Hey, here's a tough one. Would you sacrifice your family to reach an end that satisfies you for life? No. For me, I would probably say no. But think about this for a second, right? Satisfying yourself for life is com- is technically comparable to your family because they can also satisfy you for life just by being there for you. But it, it's kind of hard to explain how you argue against this. But I think you could draw a picture of it pretty clearly if you thought about it. Like the end goal being an all superior, all powerful, just amazing ending for you that could not be ending better in any way possible. I just can't wrap my head around which route I would go for. You know, you're sacrificing so much for not so little. You're sacrificing it for something great, something amazing, but you leave an empty void in your life. But if you don't sacrifice your family, you're also leaving an empty void in your life because you're like, I just gave up that single opportunity to gain a life that will satisfy me for in life, my individual life. Think about this as an individual level. After I take a drink of water because I've been talking for 30 minutes. You know, cold water, it's delicious, you know. Satisfy you for life as an individual. Individuals themselves seek sustenance in their entire lives and can only be satisfied by meager pickings. But some people are fine with meager pickings, and if that is your final goal in life, then that's fine too, right? But come on, man, it's I think it's a hard. Some of you be like, no, I would never sacrifice my family. But on the other hand, come on, this is it. This is the final stretch, man. You're going down the path of greatness. No, no, you know, no, I don't want to devalue this, but you're not technically going down the path of greatness. You're going down the path of sacrificing your family for something that could be infinitely better if you don't value your family. Let's say you're like some dude who hates his family and they treated him badly his entire life. This would be a no-brainer. But for someone whose family is really close to them and also wants it, but let's say they were dead poor, right? This family was dead poor. There's nothing we could do for it, and despite that, they were the closest they could have ever been. But you know, they all that his or her parents' greatest wishes was that he got the final life that he deserves in a environment that is not their own. And wouldn't you be fulfilling their greatest wish if you did that? Who knows? That's your decision. I feel like it is a viable argument to make. It is a viable argument, and yeah, wow, another week gone by, huh? I did some stuff this week. How about how we take these last few minutes to really ram it down your throat that I'm just the coolest kid on the block, right? I wrote a short story this week. Took me about 4 hours to make. It was pretty good. Well, I mean, I need someone to proofread it, but I thought it was pretty good. I thought it was it was a good attempt, I should say. I mean, I've never written fiction before, I mean, I've written like essays for fiction, like creative essays, but not in the form of like I took the time and effort to really sit down and write a short story, which I did. And it took 4 hours, and I think that I nailed a lot of the points that I would like to see in fiction done correctly. Like I hate static text. I'm gonna say it. I said that in my literary analysis the other day. I hate static text. I think reading a book is a no-no. That's just a no-no. Uh, Not to say that I don't like reading, because obviously I do like reading, because all anime is reading subtitles, right? Um, but static text on a book just does not hit me the right way. It just does not. Therefore, I tried to make the writing as entertaining as possible with wit included. And to an extent, I did do that. I did include a lot of wit and graininess to the text that you could expect out of someone like George Orwell. I had actually a friend proofread, or not, well, like not proofread it, but read it in general. He said, "This seems very Orwellian." I don't read a lot of Orwell, but who knows? It could be. Um, and it was a fun time. It was really a fun time. I'm having a friend. I don't know if he'll do it, but I did a voice act of it before I asked him. But I have a friend who does voice acting, so I wanted him to do all the dialogue and narration, because I thought having someone who actually knows what they're doing is probably better than me, because unfortunately my voice is not the best for. What am I saying? I'm essentially narrating right now, but in informal terms, and to an extent, I'm very articulate with my words, and this is really helping me become one of those people that really knows how to articulate themselves and really speak. I mean, how many people do you know that can run an informal podcast like I do with no problem and no notes? You know, I don't even use notes in these. I have a topic in my notepad that I want to do, right? Just a single like line of this is your topic, go. And I talk about it for half an hour, and I come up with random points as I go, and that's kind of where I'm going with this. I want to be as articulate and as not formulaic. I want to be a free thinker, but I also want to have a formula to how I approach these podcasts, because I hate for them to be disorganized and sound really unfinished and unpolished, because I'm trying to achieve a level of quality that some people are expecting. But that should be it. This was a fantastic podcast. I definitely know you enjoyed this. I definitely do. If you did enjoy this, that's just a sad thought for me. That I will think about that if you didn't enjoy it. So feel free to leave a dislike if you didn't enjoy it, because I will be sad. And that sadness will consume me as I. No, it won't consume me. Um, yeah, that's it for this week. Have fun doing whatever you want to be doing. I know what I'm going to be doing. Sitting. That's what I'll be doing. And eventually, I'll get around to watching those godforsaken seasonal shows. Lord have mercy. Not looking forward to this season. Just not looking forward to it. Not even a smidgen. I'm not looking forward to it. Not even a smidgen. There's not a single show I saw in this season of anime that I was like, you know what? I love this season to tears. I wanna literally watch every show. Nope, there's not a single show. Not a single one. That's it. Thanks for watching.